Welcome to the Magdalene Voices, giving voice to those silenced for centuries through sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls. I am your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Maria Serafina. I serve soul-driven, heart-based spiritual entrepreneurs, Magdalene's rising, and radiant beings just like you with the expansion and growth of yourself and your business, aligning you with your deep inner truth, bringing to life that which you're here to birth, and supporting you in expressing your soul's divine purpose through your being and your doing in this lifetime. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to join my newsletter to stay connected and updated. You can do so on my website, mariaserafina.com, where you can also find previous episodes and their show notes. And if you have ever wondered about your Magdalene connection and calling and whether you are a Magdalene, I invite you to download the free Magdalene blueprint I've created for you. Go to mariaserafina.com/AYM to get it. Also, if you're a soul-driven, heart-based spiritual entrepreneur, check out my show and podcast, The Spiritual Business with Maria Serafina. It's designed to inspire you, empower you, guide you, nurture you, and activate you. You can find it on YouTube as well as everywhere podcasts are broadcasted, or click the link in the show notes. Today I'm joined by Kristine Øjken. Kristine is a carrier and orator of the ancient mysteries, an energy worker, artist, healer, and coach, and if you ask me, a very powerful oracle embodying her Magdalene heritage. This is the second time that Kristine has been on the show because I know just how powerful her esoteric wisdom and knowledge is. Kristine works with the mysteries of old times and weaves magic and sacred wisdom into a modern, everyday lifestyle because the essence of all that we long for is already within us. She believes that universal sacred knowledge is essential in liberating your inner God and expanding your unique greatness in the world so that it and you may enhance love and light in the world through deep, dark work and transformational healing processes. In her work and art, she blends the realms of feminine and masculine, as well as the modalities of numerology, mentoring, healing, and body work. In this sacred conversation, Kristine once again shares her powerful esoteric knowledge as she gives us insights about the discovery of dwarf planets, the wisdom for us, and the information about sensitivities and the underworld this highlights. As always, I encourage you to listen with an open heart and an open mind and take only what serves you and leave the rest. Here is our sacred conversation. Kristine, we are back. Yay! It's funny because actually, I think that with basically everyone that I've had on the Magdalene Voices, or everyone that I've invited into a sacred conversation, is someone that I could be sat down with again and again and again and again and have more conversation and more exploration and integration and going deeper. And so it is wonderful to have you back.
Thank you.
I know that your episode, the previous one, which I will leave a link to in the description, was one that really sparked a lot of curiosity, a lot of comments, a lot of interest, a lot of recognition. Most of all, I think people were very much aligned with what came through, which is always wonderful. And I've invited you back because you are such a powerhouse of wisdom and knowledge and craziness and wonderfulness, if that's even a word. And we've kind of outlined where we're going to go, but as we lean into it,
you never really know, right?
We never really know.
And it's just going to take off and then just,
yeah, we're going to
see where it ends.
To the stars. One of the things that you've mentioned, and this is very, very interesting, and I'd love for you to share about this, is about the integration of a new dimension. You've mentioned that there are dwarf planets, Plutoids, stuff that is happening in the sky that is affecting us. And so would you start us off by just sharing what is that, what's happening, what's going on? And yes, let's start there.
Yeah. So maybe
sorry, can I just have to say one thing before we start, because I know that we may be going into stuff that can be triggering for people. So I just want to say that if you're someone who is easily triggered, or if you're someone who's not easily triggered but find yourself triggered throughout this conversation, know that you can always, take what serves you, leave the rest. We're just inviting you into a possibility, an opportunity, a deepening and heart opening. Okay.
Definitely.
Sorry.
Thank you for just clarifying that, and thank you so much for having me again. So what I'm really juiced up about, what I'm so excited about, is that this year, particularly 2019, we have a code of immense expansion in the level of a new consciousness appearing and integrating into our reality. So for everybody out there who has kind of always been a little bit awkward with the sensitivities, feeling a bit like, oh, you're the weird one, you are the funky one with weird abilities, and you don't really, you kind of get easily overwhelmed in different kind of areas. That might be with sound, with people, with overly stimulation just by the outer world. This is great news for us. Because what is happening is that we have a new reality, or a new dimension, a new level of a dimension integrating into our reality. What does that mean? That means that the entire planet has now has a template which makes us, everyone, more sensitive to energies, to the subtle realms, to everything we could call mystery and not superficial knowledge. So this could be one of the markers of the actual divine feminine awakening, because what is the divine feminine? The divine feminine is mystery. It is everything below the surface, everything not direct perceivable. It's the mystery, the veils. And one of these veils have been pretty much dragged from our eyes now. And what I wanted to show you, this rough sketch.
Yes.
This is
what. So hold on. If you're listening to this via podcast, I want to say that I will get a picture of that from Kristine, and I will share it on the website so you can check it out in the show notes. Yeah.
Right. So basically what you see is 3 circles.
Yeah.
And what we have in the tiny little circle is the outer reality. So the outer reality, the outer world, is where everybody lives, obviously.
Yeah.
And most of us has been growing up and adjusting to whatever was on the menu in that kind of world. This is where you have concrete, literal stuff. Everything is what it seems like. You can measure it, you can weigh it, you can be natural scientific about it. And then there's something more. Because then it kind of dawned on humanity, oh, there's something else. That's the second reality that encompasses the first and penetrates it, but holds the whole realm of inner dimensions. We call it the psychological dimension, right? This is our thought. This is our patterns of behavior. These are our patterns of emotional and feelings and stuff like that. So the way that most of us works is that obviously we have there's something we are conscious about. There's our mind that can go on being rational and think logically and calculate and analyze and stuff like that. But where the brain will go and pick out information to do that is from the subconscious. Yeah. This is in this whole realm. So a lot of people is quite familiar with the existence of this realm, of this reality. Yeah. That, like, if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, it's kind of it's kind of pervading all through like general knowledge that we are something more than the outer world. So here comes the inner world.
Yeah.
You have more refined, and it's an expansive world, and you can go really far into it, and you can explore territories within it that are almost like really funky psychedelic things where you kind of go into patterns of archetypes, patterns of how human mind works and how that affects reality.
Yeah.
And then a lot of us who had the abilities to kind of navigate both those dimensions, we also had something more.
Yeah.
Something unexplainable, something that we could kind of sense, but didn't have a word. We didn't have the vocabulary to talk about it.
No.
We didn't have the language. We didn't have the, like the psychological shelves, IKEA shelves to put the information into right places and make that our reference point for our rational mind.
Yeah.
Makes sense until now, right?
Yeah. Oh, it makes total sense. And I guess that there must be, in terms of what you're saying, there must be an upgrade of the physical nature of our human existence as well, in order for us to be able to access.
Also, but the thing is that now what we're experiencing this year is that other dimension of sensitiveness towards energy is drawing further in.
Yes.
And that is heralded in numerology and astrology and every kind of like those codes that assist us in figuring out what is going on in the cosmic level, right? So how is our human consciousness developing, and how do we kind of get information about that through those cycles and tidings from the cosmic messengers, right?
Yeah.
And thank you for keeping with me so very.
I'm like, yes, and I can even sense this as you were talking. I can kind of sense the field. It's like
exactly. But this is why this is such an important conversation, because what we're doing, this is a field that nobody really knows yet. We can sense it. A lot of people who are sensitive or psychic or have psychic abilities in some way or another are actually quite fine-tuned in order to draw down information from this level, but we haven't really figured out how to work with it. We haven't mapped it out yet. So what we're doing just by having this conversation is actually engaging that dimension, pulling it further in order to obviously have a greater access to it. Because why is this important? Because if you live in the tiny center circle, the outer world reality, you cannot see beyond those limits.
No.
If you have access to the psychological dimension as well, then you have a bit more. You have a bigger space to pull resources from. You have a bigger space to find a solution, and the problems that exist in the outer reality, in this outer world, you cannot address them from the psychological level.
No.
Unless if you need to put a nail in the wall with a hammer, it's not going to work for you to sit and psychological try to solve that.
No.
But when it comes to our experience of the outer world, that is not a physical
experience of it.
If we come to our experience of the outer world and our inner light wanting to come out and do stuff with it and engage with it in the alchemistic, magical, fun way that we know is there, then you need to be able to access the other dimensions. And so to me, this is where I hesitate about saying true alignment, but this is a whole new, this is a game changer. Because this is when it makes sense for all of us because the dimension of energy is now this close to everyone, that even people who are confined in the realms of outer reality and will always try to address the world and solutions and problems. I mean, like environmental issues, economical issues with social and social economic structures throughout the world. All of that junk has now an immense other dimension to pull resources from in order to make new solutions that are more aligned between all of these dimensions, that they make sense in the energetic level, in the psychological level, and in the physical reality.
Yes.
So why is this interesting, and what it has to do with Magdalene?
Yeah, hold on. Before you say that, can I say that I am for some reason, like it moves me to tears. I have tears in my eyes because I'm so happy. I'm so joyful, filled that this is actually going on. And also because what you speak of, because I myself have been, and I've shared about this in, I think this book has as well, but about spiritually bypassing. And what you're talking about is the integration and how we, or at least this is what I hear. Sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I hear is that you're talking about the the integration of the seen and the unseen to support the up-leveling, the healing, the transformation of what we're here to do. And
that's so well put.
Bypassing, just saying, "See ya, suckers! I'm done. I have achieved my ascension. I'm awoke. I am just like gonna take off and be just for the light." But what you're talking about is the integration of all of that.
Yeah.
Support the uplifting of all, which is
this is the essence, the core message of divine femininity, the divine feminine awakening. That is not to take off on some ego journey and go hunt something wild and crazy. That is the old paradigm.
Yes.
The new paradigm is actually to engage in this planet, in this life that we're here to live. This is the Magdalene itself. It's like almost a tantrika that pulls down the energy from above and birth it out into the world.
Yes,
and thereby giving form. This is what the feminine principle does. It gives form. It organizes chaotic forces.
Yes.
So this is what we're doing.
Yes.
And then it's just so beautiful that we have this new place to draw energy from and resources. And
is that because to me, when you're talking about that, to me, it sounds like that quote unquote dimension has always been there, but we have not been able to.
Exactly.
It's because of the work that we've done that we're now able to.
Not only, it's also because it wasn't perceivable to us because we couldn't see it.
Yes.
And this is where we get the dwarf planets, for instance.
Yeah.
So what are the dwarf planets? Just to the listeners out there, you don't need to understand everything that is coming out of my mouth.
No.
You just need to feel the energy of it. So what we're doing here, we're actually doing what I perceive is the new way of working, that we are communicating on 3 dimensions at once.
Yes.
And we can do that because we have access to the dimension of energy.
Yes.
And if you don't know that exists, you cannot really engage with it, and then you cannot become a channel for it. So this is why this is so important, especially for the spiritual communities, because as a healer, as a clairvoyant, as a light worker of any kind of however you work with
the different
you want to be able to access this dimension and draw from it. And the cool thing is that when energies that surround us that are intelligence, which energy has huge wisdom and huge intelligences in them. They're like creatures of their own.
Yeah.
So until now, like in astrology, we've been working with the planets that could be seen from with the visible with eye, without binoculars, right? And then as soon as Uranus got discovered in 18 something, we opened ourselves to the influx of that energy and that intelligence. So the minute we consciously connect with the celestial things, creatures, then we start co-working with them. We start communicating with them. So it's not like Uranus never existed before 18 whatever, 16 whatever, whenever. I'm not an astrologer, so please forgive me about the astrological details in this thing. But that's not relevant. The theory or the factual thing is not relevant because we're working with energy, right? We're working with consciousness. So the minute we, as astronomists, figure out there's a new planet, we're going to give it a name. We're going to put it on the map of human consciousness. That is when we open the gate to receive information, receive codes, and gain access to that creature's realm of conscious. So this is how we expand human level consciousness. We by divine timing are all influenced by these cosmic events, and something they're all cyclical in some sort, but some have small cycles like a year or a day or a month, and some of them has very, very large cycles like 500 years or so. We just haven't had an eclipse season that was opened in the year 991. Think of that. That is quite a time span that we've been working with regards to healing and uplifting old wounds and going on. That is like plague. That is like the great hunger of Europe. That's a whole other story. Anyway, no, I actually did a healing session going through every year, because those cycles, it's a Saros cycle, the ecliptical patterns goes in cycles, and they hit us every 18th years and a couple of months and some days, but with an interval of 18 years we meet the same family of eclipses. So think about how many 18-year cycles we've been through since the year 991, when this exact ecliptic family was born. So going through every historical year, what happened? What was significant for that year in particular? Because then you engage the whole realm of your consciousness to these historical events, and then tracing. They've been our companions through our whole lineage. Year 991. So they carry enormous information to us, and enormous healing potential that when we address it, when we use our divine forces, that is our consciousness, shed light into the darkness, right, and bring it up in the light. That was a whole other story.
Can I just I love how, maybe this is just me, but I love how practical you make it. It's like, again, it's like the combination of the physical and, like, I call it the seen and the unseen. You weave those worlds so seamlessly. It's like it just makes sense. Yes.
It does make sense. And it as an I was my outer world reality education. I went to college, right? I have a degree in Egyptology, so I'm an historian, I'm a linguist. So this is my background to working. So for me, it makes insanely, it just makes sense. To think we are now at this is almost like a Darwinian thing, that we are right now, all of us that exist and alive to exactly this day, We are the highlights of human evolution.
Yes.
Think of that. Let the greatness of that penetrate your cells, and know that for you to sit here 3.5 billion of years had to fall into pattern in exactly that way for you to sit here.
Yeah.
That is extremely insane, and you can almost have your brain blown up, but by trying to figure out how many males and females had to actually,
come together.
And it's so you were picked to be here in this moment.
Yes.
And this is something we have to fully integrate, because that also means that we are in fact the creators of the future. What we put into it is what the future is going to experience. So we are not just someone like a tiny puddle thing in the ocean of 7.5 billion or so in Earth population. We are, every single one of us, extremely important for this particular phase that humankind is in. And one of the things is that the rise of a spiritual movement in Western Europe, and further and further in the US as well, and in general all around the world, has to do with this huge dimension getting closer. Because all of us who sits here and listens to this are people who were sent forward in advance in order to have already figured out how is it to live like this, how is it to be sensible like this, how am I going to form a world or a life that makes sense to me with these what used to be incapabilities of living a normal life.
Yeah.
So we are now the ones that are becoming the isolated islands of knowledge that can help and support the rest of the planet, who will begin to feel ever so more stressed and tensed up by the development of the entire humankind consciousness, right? Because they're being pushed from every side to leave that constricted little cycle and to open up to something bigger.
And so in that, and that's one of the things that I've found in my own journey, is that as I expand, my ability to hold space for, like, my empathy grows.
Of course.
My sensitivity grows.
Of course.
Also my willingness to tolerate bullshit, that diminishes.
Exactly. Because you become ever so much fine-tuned. And you know what? That specific part of the journey, the awakening journey that you're describing there, is actually in place in one of the dwarf planets.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a new thing. It's a new thing for us as humankind to actually embrace, you know what? I have the power of deciding what is bullshit, what is true, what is my sacred yes, what is my sacred no. Yeah. And as we integrate that and move forward with it, implementing it in our lives, we open this whole new dimension. So this is where I want to go into the dwarf planets, because the dwarf planets got pointed out.
My mind is being blown. Like, I hope, like, to all the listeners and the viewers, if your minds are being blown, you're not the only ones. Mine is too. And I'm like,
it's because we are making a quantum leap here. We're expanding your consciousness by making direct contact to this dimension.
Yes.
So it is profound, and it is going to make this is an initiation, because you're being reactivated. Your way of perceiving and your way of, what do you call it, the receptors of this kind of energy is being reactivated.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you weren't before or something, but now you get your receptors opened.
Yes.
in a way that you can actually gain access a lot quicker. And this is why this is so important. So
go ahead.
In the starts of the 2000s,
yeah,
you had astronomers identifying a new class of celestial thingies, in lack of a better word.
yes.
And we call them dwarf planets. And we're not going to go into the factual details about what is a dwarf planet and what not. Just follow me for the energy of it. So these are something, well, we knew they existed before, but now we engaged with them. We kind of unlocked the realm of existence, the realm of consciousness. So now we start being influenced more directly with them. Yes. So it normally takes like around 10 years for something to be discovered and then to, drizzle out and find its way. Yeah. So this is now, obviously, with the eclipse that's been going on, with the huge divine timing of cycles that we're experiencing this year. This is now. So this entire year, for everyone, I don't know anyone who hasn't experienced it. It has been a really intense year. This is because your consciousness is expanding in beyond what you thought you were capable of holding.
Yes.
And this is also mean that your sensitivities, your clarity, your vision, is exploding as well. And of course that creates a lot of stress in our neurosystem, in our physical body, and in our outer world, because we need to recalibrate to this new level of energy and consciousness, right? So what enters the consciousness of more and more people now are these dwarf planets. And there's a reason why they're called dwarf planets. It's not just because they're tiny. That doesn't have anything to do with it. It's because mythologically, dwarves are the ones who dig deep, who goes into the underground and releases the jewels, the precious stuff, the precious materials that has been aeons in developing down there, bring them back into the upper world and let them shine, right? So these you could almost see these as workers of the Magdalene.
Yeah, but it's crazy how, because I'm pretty sure, well, I think that maybe there are some astronomers or people who look at the sky who are spiritual people, but I don't necessarily think that that's like the majority of them. So for those things to be called dwarf planets is just such a
but this is how, like in every naming of planets and stars and stuff like that, you have astronomers coming together and figuring out where should we pull from. And of course they go to it from a more, they're astronomers, right? So it's natural scientists. But on the other hand, these people are human as well. And some of them will be able to pull down information that makes sense on a higher level. So it's just so beautiful how the energy runs through, no matter what, outer form it's going to be channeled through, right? So it makes sense that they're dwarf planets. They're also called Plutoids. And this is because you have the planet Pluto that esoterically holds the gateway from the outer world realm, your earthly life, into the esoteric realm, which means spiritual awakening, right? So Pluto is the ruler of the underworld, and this is where we want to go. This is what we need to integrate, right? So in the last sacred conversation we did, we talked about the significance of Easter, and we delved into the journey of how Yeshua the Christ went into the underworld, into the abyss of oblivion and ignorance, in order to free the Holy Spirit, Sophia, the divine feminine, to restore her to her remembrance, to her remembering her name, who she is, and her power, right?
Yes.
And this is what he did through Easter while he was so-called dead. And in order to do that, he was held by Mary the Magdalene.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So you could almost look at this from an esoteric point of view, that you have the Plutoids being the different qualities of the sacred Magdalene in order to free those deep parts of us, those sensitivities, those extremely, those qualities that you have been held through lifetime and lifetime, fine-tuning it, safekeeping it, guarding it. And now is the era, the dawn, where they have to go out in the world. They have to be retracted and pulled out in the outer world for everyone to see. Then the hysterical laughs come in, right? The giggling.
I'm speechless. I'm like, holy fuck. Yes, that makes so much sense. Like,
and this is what you work with. This is what I work with. This is what every light worker works with, is to free the inner resources, the inner gifts of every human being, in order for them to be that, to be themselves, to venture forth into the world and having these gifts freely flowing.
Yes.
Without being trapped in the underworld and the darkness of not knowing, and in the darkness of, oh, I don't have power, I'm not worthy, I'm not loved, I can't have trust. This is when you are stuck in the underworld. So these dwarf planets come into our horoscopes now. They weren't integrated in a natal chart until now. And as far as I know, I haven't been in contact with anyone in the US of astrologers. This is something that was introduced to me. Well, not as I give it on, because obviously I code it with the rest of what I do as normally. But as I told you before, I'm not an astrologer. But there's a Danish astrologer who opened this gate and put them on chart and gave them symbols, because you need symbols for them in order to put them in the chart, right? So in a lot of online natal chart, what do you call them, programs, software systems, you cannot even put them in your chart. Yet. So now we are together pulling the energy closer. So this will expand and influence a lot of astrologers around the world in order for them to be able to access this energy.
So you will be able to, in your natal chart, see, or your current chart, see what gifts you are currently accessing or needing to work with or having to explore. That is, yes. Okay.
This is multidimensional too.
Yeah.
Of course, if it was simple, then there wouldn't be any juice to it, right?
Yeah.
So these planets, these dwarf planets, represents not only the keys of what you need to engage in order to transfer your conscious from one reality into the next one. So they, on one level, they are the kind of the digit code you need to unlock in order to open the gate and go through into your awakening.
Yeah.
So an astrologer who's actually an astrologer will be able to see when are those points triggered in order to see when will your awakening start, how will it unfold. So you can have help to kind of nail, oh shit, I'm experiencing my dark night of the soul, I'm deeply into I'm in the underworld. Please deliberate me, right? On the other hand, they tell us a deeper truth. They reveal a deeper truth about what is your special gifts.
Yes.
Because the way they go in constellation with the rest of the chart, with the planets, with the houses, with the the angles and all of that juice, tells something about to specify how you're sensitive.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, where I can't remember her name, but the one, never mind. The one, the lady who started to investigate the HSP, the highly sensitive person concept.
Yeah.
When it started to be influencing our way of thinking that, somebody is highly sensitive.
Yeah.
Initially, you only you only perceived highly sensitivity as being something in the emotional and the feeling level. So somebody who was easily overwhelmed by the presence of other people, for instance.
Yeah.
Now we know that there are multiple, and this also the dwarf planets pull that information further, because you can be highly sensitive to the physical realm.
Yeah.
People who perceives energetic clusters of resistance or flow, or freely flow through their body. They feel pain, they feel aches, they feel other people through their body, and it becomes a physical distraction. And if you're not aware of this, that you have this ability, then you easily confronted with being ill, with having an illnesses, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just knowing, this is just the way my antenna receives information.
Process information. Yeah.
Exactly. Or the way that, or maybe you are highly sensitive to being hypersentient towards cosmic messengers. This is what I am, for instance.
Yeah.
I'm highly attuned to what's going on in the celestial realms.
Yeah.
And this makes no sense before you know it, because you're like, what's going on? Am I delusional?
Yes.
Am I bipolar?
Yeah.
What is this up and down influx of emotions and feelings and thoughts? And it's like, it's just the planets. Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Then I can go on doing my regular stuff, because that's obviously there's nothing wrong with me. It's just it's what you call it? It's like a joystick. You need to be able to what buttons do what, and how to control the volume and the strength and the
navigate
the channels, right?
Navigate everything. Yeah, absolutely.
So you have a lot of different levels of sensitivity, what you can be sensitive towards.
Yeah.
Instead of and what we
can I just say something? Because in terms of those who are listening or watching, because I know that Kristine has mentioned a few things, but I would like I just want to plant the seed of curiosity within you, so that if you were experiencing this, what she just said, or in other different areas, be curious about that. It may be that you are actually sensitive or processing information in a different way. So I just wanted to plant that seed.
Yeah. Or we could quickly do a very simplistic way to access a bit more information about this, is to go through the Plutoids. Like if you're sensitive to Pluto, you're sensitive to hierarchies and control and domination.
Yeah.
What is that? That is, you are insanely rebellious. You cannot tolerate where there are hierarchies or levels of people who have more power or less power. This is the planet of authority, right? Yeah. Or you can be highly sensitive towards Magdalene. Magdalene is one of the new dwarf planets. Magdalene is where you are sensitive on the fact that you are alone with your gifts. So feeling lonely and like, I'm all alone. There's no one who gets me or what I'm standing for or what I am in this world. This is so, it's such an excruciating pain to go through. Yeah. But if you know that this is something you're sensitive to, when you go into it and you allow the energy of it to influx you and you become friends with you, then it's no longer a problem. It becomes a resource more than something that makes resistance or pain or something, right? So you're engaging in the alchemical process of transforming what is a pain into a resource. What is just a mountain of dirt into this precious jewel. You're chipping off the cage that is holding it back.
Yeah.
You have, what else do you have? You have Eris. Eris is one of the other one. You're highly sensitive to bullshit. Yeah. So it's like you have an inner sort of truth that is just going to wipe down everyone who comes in your way, who presents to you something that you sense is untrue.
Yep.
I can hear what you're saying, but what's going on there, right? And
so
if you don't know this power in yourself, you often come across as very like arrogant or unpleasant to be with, because you haven't learned how to yield that sort with precision.
And because they somehow inherently know that they're not telling the truth. I mean, that I don't, this is for, and I don't know, because for me, this has been since I was a child. I've never understood. I've had these moments where I've been like, why, or like, I hear what you're saying, but that's not true. And I know that in my sessions and stuff that I do, I'm like, something is not right here. What is that? Let's find the truth. And when I say truth, I don't mean my truth.
No, I know.
It's like, it's their truth.
It's like being highly sensitive to the aesthetics of the inner energetic structure of truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
How, because you mentioned this is connected to the Magdalenes. And you mentioned Yeshua and is there other ways that you see this being connected, or even just to heart, like to light workers or heart people, or
I don't get that question.
So you mentioned how Yeshua went into the underworld to retrieve and support Sophia in finding her strength and all of that. Are there other ways? I suppose it's just a matter of, this is just next level information. This
is next level information.
Yeah.
So most light workers work within the framework that we have more in us than we know and then we have access to.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we want to do two things. This is the initiation of awakening. You want to, one, clear out karmic shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is karmic shit? This is what this plan, the circles within the circles come into. It's such a good framework because you have your outer life where you are like, oh, I need to get a job. I need to make money. I need to have bread on the table. I need to, go see a dentist, whatever. You have the psychological level. This is where a lot of the karmic shit is stored.
Yeah.
And by karmic, I don't mean this is your destiny, because this is the old paradigm and now we're in the new one.
Yeah.
This is actually what we are here to transform.
Yeah.
So if you were a steam train, you would need charcoal to pull into the ovens to make them burn, to free the energy and make the train move forward.
Yeah.
Karmic shit is our junk to recycle.
Yeah.
To make new energy from.
Yeah.
So in the psychological level, you have patterns of behavior. You have patterns of emotional and the way that feelings comes through you and how you're able to to translate them or interpret them. But because you can have an experience of crying, and you would think, oh, I'm crying, oh, I'm releasing. And another person would have an experience of crying and think, oh, I'm so sad. And the pattern is the same, but our way of interpreting is different. Yeah. So this is also the way that those patterns are made into you. Has to do with your family, has to do with your heresy. Like karmic karmic stuff is our what do you call it? Our heritage.
Yeah.
From the past, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's on a personal level, what we experience in early life. It's on the familiar level with our family. It's nations. It's every kind of group identity you can think of.
That's where I call us the transformers. Like I call us the transmuters. Like we're able to take that.
Yeah. To me, that's alchemy.
Into something else, use it, and then transform it into something else.
To me, that's alchemy.
Yeah, alchemy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because you have a substance of something. You add energy. What is that energy? That is our light. That is our consciousness. That is our willingness to engage with it. And then it transforms, and we transcend it.
Yeah.
Right. So
you mentioned, and I want to hear your take on this because I'm not sure. Okay, so you've mentioned awakening a few times.
Yeah.
To me, I see it more. It's an awakening, but it's more like it's not the quote unquote the first awakening because you've already awoken. I mean, the people who are listening to this are already people who are like they already have.
Well, it's
like an expansion. It's more
an
like
expansion, but for some, but it's also an awakening to this dimension.
Exactly. So exactly.
So I mean, you can be for some people. Let me rephrase it. For the people that you and I and everybody listening, is going to help. Yeah, this will be their awakening.
Yeah, yeah.
For all of us in this, on this show, we kind of have an idea of what's going on, and some, of course, more than others because we're all individual, we're all different places, and some of us are more sensitive to one of the circles than others, right? So somebody is very like. Massage therapist might be very good at manipulating energy on the physical level, in the physical body, and tending to that temple, to that dimension. Others, like coaches and mentors and
oracles,
spiritual mentors. No, not oracles. That's another thing. But people who work with how do you change your mindset, spiritually. They are very sensitive to that dimension of the psychological realm, right? Then you have the people who are highly sensitive to the energetic level. That is the oracle, because that is when you pull structures of energy closer because you can see it. I see it. And it has been to me personally, this has been a huge pain because I haven't been able to have the language to explain this to others. Why do you think like this? How can you access this kind of knowledge that is so complicated? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
And that's what I meant when I said that we have, like, there has to be an energetic up-leveling of our physical structures as well to be order to express that through our human form. And that is also why part of this sacred conversation has been or is an energetic transmission. So as you are listening or watching, there is stuff going on underneath that you are receiving just by the way of you being here. And when I say you, I don't mean us, but I mean those who are listening or watching. And that's funny because that's something that I've been, when I invite people into these sacred conversations, I always say that it seems to me that they become sacred transmissions of what, I'm not sure, but there's stuff that goes on the esoteric level that I'm not necessarily aware of, and the guests are not aware of, but it just, something just happens.
This is it.
we've gone way over time, as we've always, and we haven't even, we're not even halfway through, but I want to close. First, I want to ask, there's a couple things. I want to close this, but I want to ask you if there's anything else that you would like to share. But I also want to say,
what kind of question is that?
Yeah, I know, but I'll try. But the thing is, I know that because you are such a powerhouse and a wise woman and oracle, And I want to share that you do have an exploration of how to begin sharing this kind of wisdom and knowledge in your own channel. It doesn't have a forum yet, but I just want to invite people that, you know, if you're feeling called, as I am, towards Kristine's wisdom, make sure that you check her out. I will leave website and
Instagram.
the links that I can, and go follow her so that you can stay in contact. Whether or not it will be fully formed by the time this episode airs is we're not sure about, but something has to come through, because you can't just sit on this wisdom and not be sharing it with the world in like form. So that's just something that I want to say. And then I want to ask you for some final thoughts, final words.
Yeah, I just want to see some
Yes.
a quick round through the planets, right?
Yes.
You have Eris.
Yes.
Just so people have something to, you know, look for.
Yeah.
Beyond this thing. You have Eris. She's the goddess of strife. That's how we know her. But she's the one who presents the golden apple to the goddesses of Greece and says, look, this apple belongs to the most beautiful one of you. And this is what causes the whole Trojan War.
Mm.
So, but this is called for new interpretation, because she was not actually the one causing the strife, but she's the one who's unsentimental and with clarity points out, look, there's something not right here.
Yes.
So she's our sword of truth. She's our sacred yes and no. And the minute we start integrating that energy and also see what it is in our chart that we need to be true about, authentic with ourselves as well as with others, we will open the gates to the next level. The next level in this passage is Makemake. Makemake is, this is where it becomes interesting, because astronomers started to reach out beyond the pantheons of Greece and Rome and the very European-centered way of looking into astrology. Makemake is Easter Island energy.
Oh.
Yeah, Easter Island. You know, the big stone faces. Yeah. What does that mean? Because obviously we don't have a mythology, because Christian missionaries who came there just kind of wiped it out, so it wasn't written down. So we don't have actual, you know, written stories that presents us this worldview or this myth. But what it means to be an island, think of it. Access the energy of you being an island in the midst of an ocean far beyond reach. Like there's nothing else in, I don't know how many kilometers, hundreds of kilometers, that makes sense, right? It's completely isolated. You have to be self-sufficient.
Yes.
You have to be enough with yourself. Yeah, you have to be willing to stand alone.
Yes.
You have to be able to stand in yourself and of yourself.
Yeah.
And this is also when people are out on the ocean, you know, paddling in their canoes or whatever, they are on the search. Again, we're talking on an energetic, an abstract level. Don't take this literal. But when people are outside in the big ocean canoeing, they run out of water, they run out of nutrition and no more biscuits or whatever they had. And finally, there's an island. What is this? Safety, comfort, nutrition, sustenance, water, fresh water, coconuts, what you need to survive. And this is, so Makemake in your chart represents, where are you the island of your gifts? What will people travel the chaotic waters of the unknown in order to get to you to get? So this is what you've been safeguarding within through incarnations. So your chart actually points out, where do you need to be self-sufficient, and where is it that you become the island of safety and a comfort and a wisdom for others to help them cleanse their thirst and satisfy their hunger. There's a spiritual hunger, This is spiritual first, right?
Yeah.
So this opens the next gate. The next gate is then Haumea. Haumea is a goddess from Hawaii. She's a fertility goddess. She is nature herself. What does that mean in your chart? What does she represent? She is the life giver. So what do you give life with your divine focus, with your divine intention, with your divine consciousness, with your resources? Where you put your resources, you will make things grow.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And what gives life to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your chart also says something about this.
Yeah.
And of course, with how it works with the other planets and houses and all of the rest of the information in the chart. But what do you give life? And also, this is where you need to give life in order to receive life. Yeah. Because then we have Ceres, who is the goddess of the harvest, right?
Yes.
And her symbol is the sigil that, you cut down.
Yeah, the grains. Yeah,
the grains, yeah. Where do you harvest? What do you harvest? And are you aware of the cyclical aspect of manifestation?
Yeah.
That harvesting is not just when you harvest. It is the whole process of clearing the fields, of putting down the tiny little seedlings, taking care of them. So harvest is an ongoing process. What do you harvest, and what do you seed, and what do you harvest?
Yeah.
So these things are all together here in order to let us access a further dimension on how to navigate from the energetic level, pulling down everything that the spiritual community have been ranting out for years without really knowing what they were talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is richness. This is fullness. This is vitality of whatever it is we're here to create.
That is
be representatives of, and that is just what I wanted to put into the vortex of our common consciousness. So here you go.
I feel like, so the thing is, as you were going through this, and I'm sure that many of the listeners or viewers will have had the same, I feel like I recognize all of those. I recognize myself in all of those. And I'm like, what? So if someone, but I'm sure people will be flooding your site and your newsletter and your Instagram and all of that for this information, because it's such a powerful thing. There are some things that come up for me, but I don't want to share them here because I know that this is going to go out to the world. So I'm sure that once we close, but I'm getting some stuff that I want to share with you. Kristine, I am pretty sure that I speak behalf on everyone listening and watching. I mean, deep bows of gratitude for who you are and for what you are allowing to come through you, so that we may hear, see, find it, integrate it, process it, learn from it. Just thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, because we need to, all of us at this call need to come together and fill into the vortex of our network in order to shout it out so that the people in the back of the classroom will hear it too, right? So again, as you started out this conversation with, and we didn't even go into the heavy stuff that we thought we would, because obviously we didn't have time, but that would be another conversation.
Yes.
But what was it that I wanted to say? It slipped me. No, but the willingness to what I wanted to say, this is not the truth, but it's an opening for you to step further into your truth, every single one of the listeners, because this is what is called for right now. The individualization of each of us, and our, the sword of truth, Eris, she's in everyone's chart in the areas. And that means that we are all called to be truth and authentic and expressive about who we are innermost, because it's through the rise and the support and the development of each and everyone's individual's integrity and spirituality that we will draw this energy of new solutions into a world but we don't even make me go there, but that certainly needs it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the majority never woke up and said, hey, let's stop slavery, let's give women voting rights. It needs to be on that individual level that we become so fine-tuned that there are things we will not tolerate, and we have the strength in ourselves to be willing to rise up and say, look, I'm going to raise my voice. I'm going to use my sovereign right as a spiritual creature to change what I want to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
And come together in a community that then elevates that to the next level, so that it becomes a change in the...
Yeah, but also just one note that I really want to see it out there. It's there's been a spiritual childishness and naivety. What do you call it? Naivety.
Yeah.
Towards the way we've been spiritual for a lot of years, and that's not to blame someone, but just to acknowledge that we are maturing. Like we need to go into the next level. So in every direction that you take this as a spiritual light worker, you want to address not to be just the one who helps other people, but if you help them through, I don't know, natural oil essence stuff, aromatherapy, you want to also turn around and look at your suppliers and say, is there something out of alignment here that needs to be addressed? Then I am the one who is going to do that.
Yes.
You need to take that responsibility.
Yes.
Or if you're a crystal supplier, turn around, make yourself informed about the mining methods, the way of sales methods, whatever. We need to take it out in the outer world as well, because this is now. It's not. It's not when we're extinct.
Oh yes.
So we need to raise that kind of the spiritual skepticism.
And it also goes for it also go for whatever you do, look at your processes. How are you paying people? How are you rewarding people? Are they able to live? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for the collective? Yes,
exactly. And this is also demonstrated by the dwarf planets in your natal chart.
Yes. And I will actually, it's funny that you mentioned crystals, because I am actually going to have a sacred conversation. I don't know if it's come out before this one or after this one, but there is going to be an episode about the ethics of crystal mining and crystal.
Yeah. And like if you are a cacao mama with, I do cacao ceremonies when I find it relevant to what I'm doing. Yeah. But I also did my readings on how to extract the cacao, how to transport it, how to keep it, how to safeguard it. And also with ayahuasca, with all of these kinds of tools and remedies we'd use.
With sage, with Palo Santo, with all of those things that you use, have a look at the process. I love that, because that's actually the reason why I haven't gone into cacao yet, is because I'm not sure of the process. I want to make sure that it's honored and everything. Okay, but that's a whole another conversation.
Exactly.
So great. Thank you for planting that seed. I love that you planted that seed. That's absolutely magnificent. I want to say again, Thank you. And I will make sure to include your website, your Instagram, all of that thing in the show notes so that when people want to find you, which I'm sure they want to after this, if they haven't after the last one, they'll want to find you. And that will be included so they can flock your door and ask for your wisdom and sit at your well. So you can share that with them. I love you dearly, Kristine. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
That is what I had for you in today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. I hope it served you well. If you're listening to this via podcast, know that you can go to my website, mariaserafina.com, or click the link in the show notes for all the deeds and the details. Finally, I hope that you will take a moment to either leave a comment or review and share it with your friends or on social media. God bless.